The man has finished building a sturdy shelter entrance across the rocky cave opening. Before that, he spent hours preparing the natural dirt floor of their new home. He also meticulously crafted a wooden door panel to seal the cave's wide entrance. Earlier in the day, his playful puppy enjoyed some energetic moments near the campsite. The two of them had explored the dense forest surrounding the quiet mountain stream. He carefully carried his furry companion across the slippery rocks to reach their destination. They navigated the rugged terrain together, seeking the perfect spot for a wilderness retreat. Following the creek, they finally arrived at the rocky overhang that would become their shelter. Upon arriving at the secluded cave, he quickly unloaded his heavy camping gear. The first major task was clearing away the loose dirt and debris from the floor. Knowing his loyal friend was hungry, he unpacked the dog's food from the small backpack. The tired puppy eagerly ate his meal, regaining energy after the long trek. Providing for his companion was always his top priority in the unforgiving wilderness. The dog quickly finished every last bite, completely satisfied with his outdoor feast. While the man worked, the playful pup amused himself by chewing on gathered branches. Meanwhile, he focused on organizing the dry firewood he had collected from the woods. He soon had a small, warm fire going to ward off the damp forest chill. The flames quickly grew, providing essential warmth and light inside the dark cave. He then resumed clearing the area, tossing heavy chunks of dirt out of the cave. Next, he used his axe to hack away the thick, stubborn roots hanging overhead. Tearing down the roots and loose soil created much more headroom inside the shelter. The dog watched curiously as he continued the hard labor of expanding their living space. Every scoop of dirt thrown outside brought them closer to a comfortable sleeping area. He struck the rocky ceiling with his axe, sending sparks flying through the smoky air. Exhausted from playing, the puppy finally took a well-deserved nap on the soft furs. He carefully arranged flat stones to create a safe, contained hearth for their fire. A massive, heavy stone slab was perfectly positioned to reflect the fire's heat inward. Using a shovel, he managed the hot coals to prepare the cooking area. The glowing embers were spread evenly to ensure a steady, reliable source of heat. The dog soon woke up, refreshed and ready to explore the creek bank again. He took a short break from his strenuous work to lovingly pet his companion. Returning to work, he dragged a massive, heavy log toward the cave entrance. He prepared a trench in the dirt to secure the heavy foundation log properly. The puppy tried to help dig, enthusiastically pawing at the loose soil near the log. He firmly packed the sand around the timber base, ensuring it wouldn't shift. With the base set, he brought in a long, sturdy pole for the vertical supports. The heavy wooden pole was lifted carefully to check its fit against the rocky roof. He used his hatchet to carve the ends of the support poles for a precise fit. The dog observed patiently, staying safely out of the way of the sharp tools. Preparing the timbers required precise cuts to build a strong, reliable frame structure. He systematically shaped each wooden piece, readying them for the shelter's front wall. As the afternoon wore on, the tired puppy fell asleep near the comforting fire. He carefully chopped deep notches into the logs so they would interlock securely together. The upright support poles were hammered firmly into position along the wooden base log. The sleeping dog stretched lazily, completely unbothered by the loud sounds of construction. He drove long nails into the horizontal crossbeam, tying the entire wooden frame together. The sturdy wooden skeleton now proudly spanned the wide opening of their cave home. He added one final vertical pole to provide extra stability against the strong winds. Pushing it firmly into place, the basic structure of the shelter was finally complete. He sat back behind the newly built frame, admiring his hard day's work. Earlier, the brave little dog had confidently balanced on a fallen log across the creek. To gather enough wood, he had to harvest heavy branches from the steep hillsides. He hauled the harvested timber back to the campsite, carrying it across the stream. Back at camp, he meticulously carved and shaped smaller sticks for their custom door. He also dug a deeper trench to ensure the bottom of the door would fit. The puppy playfully bit at the large foundation log, keeping himself happily entertained. He continued sawing the gathered branches to the exact lengths needed for the doorway. Taking another brief pause, he affectionately rubbed the tired dog's head and neck. The smart puppy eagerly gave him a high five, showing their strong, trusting bond. They sat together inside the unfinished shelter, enjoying the warmth of the crackling fire. He made sure every joint on the frame was hammered tight and completely secure. With the frame finished, he unrolled a large sheet of clear plastic to enclose it. The thick plastic sheeting was draped carefully over the wooden skeleton to block the wind. He used a heavy-duty stapler to attach the protective plastic firmly to the poles. The bottom edge was also stapled securely, ensuring no cold drafts could enter inside. The clear wall transformed the exposed rocky overhang into a truly enclosed, dry room. From the outside, their wilderness home looked impressively sturdy and well protected from the elements. As evening approached, the warm glow of the fire illuminated the shelter's plastic walls. Preparing for dinner, he nestled a few large potatoes deep into the hot coals. The intense heat of the fire pit would perfectly roast the potatoes for their meal. While the food cooked, he gently stroked the sleeping puppy resting on the furs. Night fully fell over the forest, but their glowing shelter offered a safe haven. He sat peacefully by the roaring fire, comforting his dog as the temperature dropped. He opened the small backpack once again to serve the dog his evening meal. The hungry pup eagerly ate from his bowl, completely content in their cozy cave. After feeding his companion, the man finally sat down to eat his own dinner. He enjoyed a simple meal from a tin can, grateful for the shelter's warmth. They ended the night playfully interacting through the sturdy plastic wall of their home. The completed wilderness shelter stood bright and secure against the dark, imposing forest night. From inside, the thick plastic kept the bitter cold out while trapping the fire's heat. As the fire died down, the secluded campsite faded quietly into the forest's darkness. The next morning, the clear mountain stream continued its peaceful flow past their campsite. Sunlight filtered through the plastic walls, illuminating the cozy interior of their survival home. The dog stood guard outside, proudly surveying the shelter his owner had built. The man stepped out to greet his loyal friend, ready for another day's work. Looking from the inside out, the clear barrier offered a perfect view of nature. The curious puppy peeked back through the plastic, eager to join his owner inside. He relaxed comfortably in his finished dwelling, satisfied with the sturdy construction he achieved. To complete the build, he demonstrated the functional wooden door he had carefully woven. He enjoyed a freshly roasted potato for breakfast, sharing pieces with his eager dog. The cave shelter was a remarkable success, providing everything they needed to survive comfortably. To add further improvements, he used a hacksaw to cut metal rods for reinforcement. The playful puppy briefly interrupted, humorously trying to bite the metal handsaw. He carried a square metal frame to the entrance, planning to upgrade the doorway. He measured the new door frame against the opening to ensure a perfect fit. The dog watched the flowing creek, taking a moment to appreciate their beautiful surroundings. The man continued weaving long sticks together, creating the solid panel for the door. He made sure to keep his dog well fed, rewarding him for his constant companionship. By tying the branches tightly with strong twine, the wooden door panel became incredibly sturdy. Every knot was tied carefully to ensure the heavy door would hold up over time. He lifted the finished wooden panel, ready to install it into the shelter's entrance. The custom stick door fit perfectly, completing the protective barrier across the cave mouth. Opening the door smoothly, he proved that his rustic engineering was highly effective. Earlier, he had gathered several thick logs, dropping them near the stream for processing. He hoisted one of the heavy logs onto his shoulder, demonstrating his impressive strength. The heavy timber was dropped by the campsite, adding to their ample wood supply. He placed a massive log directly onto the fire to ensure a long-lasting burn. The loyal dog sat quietly, watching a large log slowly catch fire in the hearth. Getting back to work, he carefully sawed the remaining timber to reinforce the camp. These heavy pieces were hoisted up to strengthen the walls of their temporary home. While he labored, his loyal companion kept a watchful eye from a mossy boulder. Needing better insulation, he gathered fresh moss to seal the drafting gaps in the structure. He then shoveled dirt to level the campsite while the pup danced around playfully. With the perimeter cleared, they navigated across a fallen log spanning the shallow stream. The energetic dog found endless entertainment pawing at stones near the newly built entrance. Inside the cavern, a small fire crackled warmly beside their cozy fur sleeping mat. Knowing they needed an outdoor kitchen, he arranged flat river rocks into a sturdy circle. Leaving the plastic-walled shelter behind, he stepped out to prepare for the evening meal. Taking a brief break, he playfully wrestled a long stick away from his excited pet. As dusk settled, the translucent walls of their wilderness home glowed brightly against the darkness. He quickly chopped thick branches at the outdoor pit to build a lasting cooking fire. Ensuring a steady flame, he carefully positioned the kindling over the increasingly hot embers. Sharp knife in hand, he whittled fresh green branches to construct a makeshift roasting rack. This simple wooden frame was laid directly over the coals to hold their upcoming dinner. From the safety of the cave, the hungry pup watched the meal preparations with anticipation. The main course was a massive fish, rinsed thoroughly in the freezing mountain stream. He scraped the scales away on a wet log, getting the impressive catch fully prepped. The butterflied meat was then carried over to the fire ring for a slow roast. Tending the flames carefully, he made sure the heat remained consistent as night completely fell. Sizzling softly on the wooden grate, the heavy fish slowly cooked over the open flames. He flipped the delicate meal to ensure both sides were perfectly smoked and deeply flavorful. With dinner finally ready, they both retreated from the cold into their illuminated bunker. The loyal dog was served first, rewarded with a generous bowl of warm, hearty food. Every single bite disappeared in seconds, proving the long day had built a serious appetite. Meanwhile, he pulled a tender flake of smoked fish directly from the steaming inner hearth. Bellies full, he unfolded a heavy animal pelt to insulate them from the freezing air. Wrapping the thick fur around them both, he created a cocoon of much-needed body heat. A final hug for his best friend sealed a successful day in the harsh wilderness. Outside, the campfire died down as their quiet shelter blended into the pitch-black forest surroundings. When morning light eventually broke, the energetic pup was already awake and heading outside. Surviving on this desolate coast eventually leads to an incredible feast of fresh fish. But long before distilling water and grilling a giant catch, the struggle begins with nothing. Arriving at this barren sandy stretch with just a backpack, he immediately scouts for camp. Finding a sheltered hollow near the water, he drops his gear and begins digging. He gathers massive piles of dry dune grass to use as vital building material later. Spotting a heavy, waterlogged log in the shallows, he works hard to pull it ashore. Dragging the massive timber back to his campsite requires immense physical effort. He organizes the heavy wooden pieces to form a solid foundation for his hut. From above, the carefully arranged logs map out the small footprint of his new home. He clears away more sand to ensure the base structure remains completely level. Lifting a large, curved trunk, he creates the primary arch to support the roof. He carries over a long, straight pole to serve as the main diagonal ridge beam. Using durable string, he tightly lashes the critical wooden intersections together. More thick branches are leaned against the frame to form the sloping sidewalls. He simply snaps some weakened branches by hand to get the exact length he needs. Crawling inside, he tests the interior space to ensure the frame is sturdy enough. He uses his heavy knife as a makeshift hammer to wedge small joints into place. Hacking away unruly edges ensures the wooden skeleton is smooth enough for the roof. Turning to insulation, he wades into a thick patch of tall coastal dune grass. He rips huge handfuls of the dry vegetation right out of the sandy soil. Hauling a massive bundle on his shoulder, he returns to the unfinished shelter. Dropping the heavy load of grass, he prepares for the tedious weaving process. He meticulously ties small clumps of straw together to form tight, waterproof panels. Chopping the uneven ends off makes the grass bundles much easier to layer neatly. The sharp blade easily slices through the material, speeding up the thatching preparation. With enough bundles ready, he begins transporting the thatch over to the wooden frame. He carefully drapes the grass mats over the sidewalls, starting from the bottom. Adding layer after layer, he ensures the overlapping grass will shed any heavy rain. He pats down the thick outer shell, completely sealing the hut from the wind. Looking up from the inside, the dense roof successfully blocks out the bright sky. The finished shelter looks incredibly sturdy, blending perfectly into the natural landscape. As evening approaches, he drags a warm animal pelt inside for a comfortable bed. Sheltered from the elements, he finally has a secure place to rest his aching body. But as the desolate shoreline plunges into darkness, the dropping temperature becomes a threat. Determined to stay warm and cook, he prepares sticks for a fire right outside. He blows gently on the kindling, coaxing the small flames into a life-saving fire. Knowing he needs food, he carves scavenged styrofoam chunks to act as fishing floats. Small bait fish are pierced with sharp hooks to attract a much larger predator. He secures the bait tightly, making sure it won't slip off in the rough surf. Grabbing his improvised gear, he walks cautiously towards the pitch-black, crashing ocean. The styrofoam floats are dropped onto the wet sand to anchor the heavy lines. With a powerful swing, he tosses the baited hook far out into the dark waves. He drives a thick, wooden stake deep into the beach to hold the tension. Freezing from the coastal wind, he quickly retreats to warm his numb hands. Crawling back onto his pelt, he tries to get some sleep in the freezing night. The roaring campfire stands guard, providing essential heat against the cold ocean breeze. Morning breaks dreary and overcast, and he wakes up to stir the smoldering ashes. He hurries down to the shoreline, incredibly anxious to check his overnight fishing lines. Disappointment hits hard when he hauls in nothing but a heavy, tangled mess of seaweed. Walking back empty-handed, he realizes he desperately needs a reliable way to boil water. Using his knife, he carves a deep notch into a dry wooden baseboard. He strings a curved stick, preparing a traditional bow drill to make friction fire. The tip of the wooden spindle is sharpened to maximize heat inside the groove. Pressing down firmly on the block, he vigorously saws the bow back and forth. He ignores his burning muscles, keeping a rapid pace to generate a glowing coal. Soon, a thick ribbon of smoke rises, confirming the wood dust has finally ignited. He carefully drops the fragile ember into a dry tinder bundle and blows gently. The dry grass bursts into flames, instantly securing his means of survival. Thicker logs are quickly added, building up a strong, long-lasting bed of hot coals. He immediately sets a metal kettle filled with salt water directly over the intense heat. Taking a large sheet of aluminum foil, he begins crafting a clever survival tool. He crunches the metal tightly, shaping it into a long, hollow condenser pipe. The foil tube connects the boiling kettle's spout straight into an empty glass jar. Pure steam travels down the pipe and magically condenses into safe, fresh drinking water. Suddenly, his fishing line snaps tight, forcing him to wrestle a massive flatfish ashore. Struggling with its incredible weight, he proudly carries the giant catch up the beach. He drops the prized fish near his shelter, thrilled by his sudden change of luck. Meanwhile, his improvised distillation setup continues slowly dripping fresh water into the jar. With the still working perfectly, he grabs his knife to butcher the enormous fish. He slices cleanly down the belly, opening the fish up to remove the innards. Scooping out the guts ensures the thick, white fillets remain untainted and delicious. He holds up a massive chunk of clean meat, ready for a well-deserved feast. As night falls again, he uses a long stick to flatten out the burning logs. A metal grate is placed directly over the glowing embers to create a makeshift grill. The giant flatfish is slapped onto the hot metal, immediately sizzling in the dark. As it roasts, he squeezes a bit of fresh liquid over the blistering, crispy skin. The fish turns golden brown, absorbing the rich, smoky flavor of the campfire. Unable to wait any longer, he eagerly tears off a chunk of hot, flaky meat. It's an unforgettable meal, and he picks at the tender flesh along the spine. He gnaws on the large bones, making absolutely sure not a single bite is wasted. With his stomach finally full, he pulls the picked clean carcass off the hot grill. He uses his stick to spread the remaining coals, letting the intense heat die down. A gentle blow keeps just enough embers glowing to start another fire tomorrow. Retreating into his warm, grassy burrow, he prepares for a peaceful, well-fed sleep. Outside, the glowing embers softly illuminate his impressive, hand-built survival camp. A small flame flickers quietly, proving he has fully conquered this unforgiving environment. Waking up to a breezy morning, he washes his face by the calm water. The vast, quiet landscape stretches out, signaling another day of solitary survival.
Stepping onto the untamed shoreline, a lone survivor prepares for a challenging journey. He immediately sets out across the jagged coastal rocks to scout the island. The treacherous reef makes walking difficult, but he presses forward with his gear. Finding a clear vantage point, he overlooks the calm, shallow waters of the bay. He scans the steep cliffs, searching for any useful resources hidden in the brush. Testing the tide pools, he carefully wades through the rocky shoreline edge. The hot tropical sun beats down as he continues his trek along the coast. Finally, the rough rocks give way to a pristine, untouched sandy beach. Seeing the sheltered cove, he decides this is the perfect location for a camp. He drops his heavy backpack by a large piece of driftwood to claim the spot. Reaching into his bag, he pulls out a sharp machete for the work ahead. He also unpacks a small portable lantern, knowing the jungle gets dark quickly. Without wasting time, he starts hacking down sturdy branches from the thicket. A massive piece of dried wood is moved to serve as his shelter's foundation. He drags a long, heavy pole across the sand to use as a main support. Clearing the campsite debris ensures he has a safe, flat area to build upon. Propping up long bamboo stalks, the framework of his wilderness home begins to take shape. He expertly wedges the support beams directly into the dense coastal root system. Venturing slightly inland, he locates a healthy palm tree perfect for roofing. With a few strong swings, he chops down several large, vibrant green fronds. He hauls the massive palm leaves back to his slowly forming beach camp. Laying the heavy foliage out on the sand, he prepares them for weaving. Using his machete, he splits the thick stalks right down the middle. He carefully measures the divided fronds to ensure they fit his wooden frame perfectly. Working meticulously, he drapes the split leaves over the top support beam. The dense roofing is packed tightly together to block out the harsh sunlight. He secures the lower sections of the fronds to protect against strong ocean winds. Peering through the green wall, he checks the overall stability of his shelter. The completed palm leaf hut blends seamlessly into the surrounding tropical environment. Exhausted from the intense labor, he finally takes a moment to rest inside. Stepping back outside, he grabs a heavy green coconut he found earlier. With precise, powerful strikes, he hacks away at the tough outer green husk. The thick shell is slowly stripped down until the inner core is exposed. Breaching the top, he easily pries open a small hole for drinking. He proudly holds up his refreshing, hand-carved tropical beverage to the camera. The cool, sweet coconut water immediately quenches his heavy afternoon thirst. Revitalized by the natural energy boost, he sets the empty shell aside. Turning his focus back to comfort, he begins weaving a simple floor mat. The woven palm strips provide a clean, dry layer over the sandy ground. With his base camp fully organized, he shifts his attention to finding dinner. He slips on his protective diving gear, eager to harvest from the sea. Grabbing his speargun and marker buoy, he steps confidently into the ocean. Floating in the calm shallows, he swaps his shoes for professional diving fins. The long white fins will help him navigate the deeper currents effortlessly. Submerging into the blue waters, his eyes scan the vibrant underwater landscape. He glides smoothly over the healthy coral reef, searching for a worthy catch. Spotting movement below, he slowly aims his loaded speargun toward the rocks. With a swift and accurate shot, he successfully impales a large parrotfish. He triumphantly breaks the surface, holding his beautiful prize up high. Slipping the fish onto a metal stringer ensures it won't slip away in the waves. Trailing his catch behind him, he prepares to make another deep descent. He dives back down, exploring the shadowed crevices of the ocean floor. Carefully navigating the jagged corals, he hopes to find more marine life. The hunt continues as he swims silently over the vast underwater terrain. Finding no other large targets, he glides over a barren, sandy patch. Satisfied with his single catch, he decides to wrap up the diving session. Towing his equipment, he lets the gentle swells push him back toward the shore. He wades through the shallows, feeling exhausted but highly victorious. Dragging his catch and buoy onto the sand, he leaves the water behind him. On his way to camp, he discovers some dried coconuts resting on the rocks. He gathers the fibrous husks, knowing they will make excellent fire starters. Adding dry twigs to his pile, he prepares for the rapidly approaching night. Using his sharp machete, he splits a piece of bamboo to create a cooking skewer. He expertly whittles the tough stick down to a clean, sharp point. Taking his fresh parrotfish, he cleans and preps it right by the shoreline. The prepped fish is then firmly skewered, completely ready for an open flame. Igniting the dry coconut fibers, a warm, bright fire quickly springs to life. He blows gently on the glowing embers to feed the crackling blaze. Propping the skewer near the intense heat, he lets the fish roast slowly. As twilight completely fades, the comforting fire becomes his only source of light. He watches his cozy campsite glow against the dark, creeping jungle shadows. The fish sizzles perfectly over the hot coals, smelling incredibly delicious. Retreating slightly into his shelter, he grabs the leftover coconut from earlier. Using a sharp piece of shell, he digs into the thick white core. He manages to scrape out a generous portion of the highly nutritious meat. The sweet, tender flesh serves as a perfect appetizer before his main course. He quietly enjoys the natural snack while listening to the soothing fire. Every single bite feels rewarding after such a long, demanding day of survival. His small bulb illuminates the leafy home, keeping the deep darkness outside. Surrounded by his handmade comforts, he finally feels safe and truly secure. Completely exhausted, he wraps himself up in a sarong to stay warm. He lies down on his woven mat, letting a deep sleep overtake him entirely. The next morning arrives, bringing a beautiful, pale light to the quiet beach. He steps out of his shelter, taking in the crisp and cool ocean breeze. Wasting no time, he immediately begins organizing his diving gear once again. Armed with his trusty speargun, he heads back to the sea for another adventure. Wading into the calm ocean, he prepares for another deep spearfishing dive. He secures his long flippers, ready to plunge beneath the shimmering surface. Taking a deep breath, he loads his speargun in the crystal-clear water. Swimming steadily downwards, he keeps his weapon aimed and ready for action. He carefully navigates over the rocky seabed, scanning the area for prey. Gliding smoothly above the corals, he holds his breath and stays entirely silent. Spotting a potential catch in the distance, he slowly extends his speargun forward. Needing air, he breaks the surface to catch his breath before resuming. Diving back down, he explores the lively reef teeming with small colorful fish. He slowly aims his speargun, searching for a larger target among the coral. Patience is key as he drifts silently over the expansive underwater landscape. With intense focus, he tracks a fast-moving silverfish across the sandy bottom. He follows his elusive prey, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Firing the spear, he successfully hits the large trevally in a swift motion. The line immediately goes taut as the heavy catch tries to swim away. He carefully manages the tension, pulling the struggling fish closer to him. Securing the fish with his hands, he admires the impressive, shimmering prize. He breaks the surface, holding his hard-earned catch firmly against the ocean currents. He quickly secures his first catch and dives back down for another target. This time, his aim is true as he spears a spiky porcupine fish. With his fresh seafood secured, he wades through the shallows towards the shore. He proudly displays both of his catches, proving his skill in the water. Arriving at his coastal camp, he hangs the fish securely on a branch. He pulls some palm fronds from his shelter to help start a fire. Taking off his wet diving suit, he prepares to cook his well-deserved meal. He searches the rocky shoreline for sturdy pieces of driftwood to burn. Returning to camp, he meticulously prepares his fresh catches on bamboo skewers. He carefully builds a small fire, stripping dry coconut husks for tinder. With the flames rising, he places the skewered fish over the intense heat. He adjusts the wooden spits, ensuring the large trevally cooks evenly. The porcupine fish is also roasting slowly, its spiky skin turning completely black. He occasionally checks the skewers, letting the hot flames sear the fresh catches. While the food cooks, he grabs his machete to prepare a refreshing drink. He expertly chops the top off a green coconut to access the sweet water. Slicing away the tough husk, he opens the coconut entirely for his feast. Once the fish is thoroughly charred, he removes it from the smoldering fire. He carefully breaks open the burnt exterior to reveal the steamed meat underneath. Using his hands, he meticulously picks out the safe, edible portions of the fish. He pulls off a large, tender chunk of white meat, ready for a bite. He examines the remaining meat, ensuring nothing goes to waste from his catch. To wash down the hearty meal, he takes long gulps of sweet coconut water. After finishing his drink, he uses his machete to split the coconut in half. He quickly fashions a makeshift spoon from a piece of the discarded outer husk. Scraping the inside of the shell, he scoops out the soft coconut jelly. He eats the refreshing coconut meat, a perfect dessert after the savory seafood. Feeling completely satisfied, he takes a moment to relax and enjoy the ocean view. With his hunger satisfied, he starts packing his gear back into his small bag. He gathers his speargun and remaining equipment, ready to leave the makeshift camp. Fully packed and energized, he walks down the beach towards his next destination.